Good afternoon, good morning, and possibly good evening. Welcome to today's session, which will help you effectively understand virtual design projects. Thank you all for joining us. You're going to see a lot of cool stuff today. I'm Anthony, editor of Electrical Business Magazine, and today's moderator. Let's pass things over to Lindsay and get started.
Hey there, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started as people continue to arrive. The first thing we'll need to do is I'll go through the agenda with you. We'll go ahead and each introduce ourselves, and then we'll focus for a moment on what is MEP Connected Construction. That's what enables all of the workflows you're going to learn about today. We'll jump into SysQue, sort of the foundation of these workflows, and then go ahead and give you some information on model-based estimating, procurement, and fabrication.
So let's jump into some of our business challenges and why we're here in the webinar today. So taking a look at the challenges you're facing today that's eating at your profit. Today's construction process is highly fragmented, and I think that would sound familiar to a lot of people on this call. Data is siloed and trapped on desktops and servers. A lot of times departments within the same company aren't doing the best at communicating with each other, so it's literally just taking what they learned about the project and throwing it over the fence to the next person. We're waiting on the IT team for software and hardware updates, and the technology stack is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the profit margin in our construction trades is one of the lowest in the industry for trade work, at about 5%. And we can see some of those market dynamics happening here, and I'm sure those will look familiar to you, especially with like fuel costs and inflation kicking in now. So at that 5% profit margin, what would another 5% look like for us? So if I was a $25 million contractor, 5% is going to get me about 1.25 million extra in revenue for the year. I could use that for a lot of things. And if I applied that to my labor, that would be 50 employees working a 40-hour week, or about 5,200 hours a year that I could gain if I could just be 5% more productive. So keep that number in mind, 5%, and let's talk about that. So McKinstry, back in 2020, they released a study, and they're saying that general and specialized contractors they could face a large decline in upcoming times here if they don't reposition themselves as not doing things as they've done all along, but implementing connected construction workflows, doing things like prefabrication, and doing better coordination across people in the same company. And what that's going to do for us is make us more productive. So the big question is, what do? Do you invest in point solutions, or are you looking to choose a technology partner that positions you for the future? So another one to think on there, because right now most contractors are using about a minimum of 10 software solutions just for estimating, detailing, and procurement, just those. And a lot of those aren't connected. So what we need to do is we need to get design technologies that are talking to each other better, working with each other better, all the way from estimating on through and connecting our technologies here. And I think that's what we're going to show you in our presentation today. So really excited about getting this to you all. And what we're looking at here is Trimble's connected construction environment. In the middle, we have our model or a common data environment. And from that common data environment, we're pushing out to the stakeholders in the construction process. So from fabrication to procurement to scheduling to estimating and takeoff, all that work is coming from one data repository, and that's our goal here at Trimble, is to make that common data environment that you can push these out to the stakeholders who need this to get their work complete. So let's say we get that. We get these connected construction workflows. What is that going to do for us? And our goal, I mean, here, remember we said if you can get 5% more, which would give you up to 10% profit margin, imagine 25%. So what that's looking like for us is you have that centralized data, common data environment, and we're pushing the data through a stream, so through a workflow. And we're going to show you model-based estimating, we're going to show you model-based procurement, we're going to show you model-based fabrication, and then even beyond that, we could do connected ERP And what that gets us is with these connected workflows, we're ready to scale for the future. So if we could just get up to 10%, boy, that would be great. And our goal here, if we could get to 25, so what would that be? Another 15%, 20% above our 5%. Ooh, I think we could all take that. So let's jump in. I'll turn it over to Jason Trotter, and he's gonna run us through SysQue.
Thanks, Doug. So real quick before we get into some of these valuable connected workflows, Doug mentioned a little bit something about model distribution and the model being a data source. So what is SysQue exactly, right? So SysQue it's a Revit-based modeling solution for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing industry. We've been around for some time, since 2013, I think, was the flagship, recently purchased by Trimble, 2018, I believe. And since then, we've been building our solutions for the industry. So currently, we provide solutions for creating real-world constructible models in the Revit environment. We facilitate modeling with direct routing, or if you're a user who gets a model from an engineer, you can convert that model into those real-world elements. There's also solutions for hanger and layout exports to provide to the field. Revit-based spooling really supports the workflow all the way from modeling to prefabrication into fabrication, and generating the fabrication files for pipe server, fab shop, cam duct. If you use a third-party cam software, we support that as well. And it also gives a house for the data to support the model-based estimating, model-based procurement, model-based prefabrication that we're going to talk about here in this presentation. And then above that, also there's so much more. We just don't have time to go through it here in this webinar. So let's talk about what we've been doing lately, right? So we mentioned that SysQue is a solution for the MEP modelers. We've been putting a pretty heavy focus on ductwork as of recently. And one of the things that we've done is we've improved some fittings to allow and simplify modifications, improve annotations. We want to be able to create a unified family base to where you can utilize an annotation on multiple families and not just have to create it for an elbow or for a transition and so on. Well, we've created these families, and then recently we've introduced these families and supported these for cam duct as well. So now these families are supported with cam duct and fab shop. Another implementation that we've taken on is a change connector. So as you're modeling, you're going to model with spec connectors. So you're going to call out your specs, and the fittings are going to populate for you automatically, where in some instances, you're going to want to change those connectors on the fly. We've carried this utility for a while, but we realized how important it's become and how often it's utilized. And so we brought that out into the forefront. We want to be able to save you time, save you money, limiting the clicks that you have to interface with. We've also created a tap improvement. So I mentioned before, as you build your specs out, and all the connectors are going to populate through your conversion or your modeling based on this spec setup. Well, when you model your taps and your rectangular taps in specific, these taps probably will not follow your spec line as it pertains to your in and out connectors. So we've implemented a method for you to be able to call out that C1 or a branch to trunk connection as independent from the spec. This way, when you get it, your fabrication file comes through just fine, and everything falls in line with what you're intending to build. Another time saver is bulk conversion. So again, we mentioned that you can grab an engineer's model, you can convert this to real world components. What that means is you may end up with multiple scenarios, specifically around shape change taps. So what you see here is round off a rectangular trunk, rectangular off a rectangular trunk, and so on. Previously, you would have to select your trunk run and maybe one of your branches to convert, as it could only manage one shape change tap at a time. We've recently implemented a method to where you can do bulk conversion, which essentially means you can select all your duct and duct fittings regardless of shape change on the taps, convert one time, and populate your model with the real world components. We also have made improvements for duct work sharing. So as we move forward in the Revit environment, we realize that the industry is quickly moving to a a shared environment, more often than not on BIM 360. So what that means is we have to adjust our methods and techniques of managing the model. And what we've done is we've actually made a few modifications to give you a leverage on the routing position or the routing preference for your Revit duct. So what we're doing now is we're leveraging the set as default or priority position settings as your Revit duct routing preference management. And then what we're doing is if you have made a modification in your model, instead of locking up your permissions, right, and preventing users from working together in the same project with maybe the same system and same duct type, we're actually just going to give you a prompt and saying that you've made a modification. It could potentially need to be synced, but leave that up to you on whether or not you want to make that sync. And with that, I think we'll hand it over to Judy to talk about SysQue Electrical.
Okay, let's cover the electrical improvements that we've done recently. On the electrical assemblies, the in-wall rough-ins that we provide, we've added conduit connectors to the top and the bottom of the surface connectors. We've added a power connector to each box as well, so that you can draw your MC or your conduit directly from the top, have it connected, go to the next box and have it automatically connect to the top or the bottom of that box. The other things we've done is move that mud ring, the face of the mud ring back so that the face of the mud ring is on the surface of the drywall, in the case of a drywall wall, right? So that it looks correct when you're doing your modeling and your coordination. So examples of those, in the upper right-hand corner there is what you would see in your 3D model, for example. We have, if I have time, I'll demo that at the end of this presentation. But, you know, again, samples of manufacturers' parts put together from our customers are screenshots there on the page. The stub 90. So we've included a stub 90. As you see, it's going to provide that Mark A location for you. You're able to set your default stub length and in turn do the tail length. You can standardize that stub length if you want. We have a customer for our quote here that just said they cut their time using stub 90s by 40%. And instead of doing 18 different spool sheets for their bends, they're down to one spool sheet. Okay, so that's a substantial savings. We updated our saddles and our offset families so that originally they were locked in as a 10-foot length of conduit. You now can make that any length that you need it to be. You can do that manually through the properties, typing in a particular length, or you can use the grips. So we've added grip control to all of these families, machine and hand bend for the 4, the 3, the offset as well. The stub 90 also has it, by the way, so that if you didn't want to type in your values, you could use your grips and drag the lengths and the offsets and how high your obstacle height is as well. The panel board, we've added vertical strut to it as well as the horizontal. We added a 3rd horizontal strut across the top for clamping your conduits to it. The width of that strut can exceed the width of the panel. So in other words, if you have a double bucket panel, you can extend that width of the strut to accommodate the 2 panels side by side. There's a couple of examples in this slide here. Just keep in mind that, you know, all I did was stretch that strut across to accommodate that 2nd panel and turn the strut for the 2nd panel off, and then just added conduit connectors and wire way across the top. So examples of the parameters to tie with these panel boards. Again, you have your ability to turn on and turn off your vertical struts, your horizontal struts, the strut across the top, and the width and the size of those struts as well. The pole boxes, we added conduit connectors and the power connector to the one that we currently had. And then we added a second one now that's non-face based, so you can place that anywhere in your model without having to do a reference line, for example, if you wanted to suspend that from your slab. Okay, so to just switch over to showing the electrical assemblies, we have some over on the side that you're able to modify. We got out of the box, or you can create a new one by simply creating a new one on the button there. And then the conduit, you know, if I want to draw MC cable from, say, this box here, notice that it highlights automatically. I can tell it, you know, the center of the box or off to one side. So I'm going to finish that location, say that I'm going up to 10 feet. So I'm going to draw it into the wall and then into the top of this box. So again, it automatically connects because we've got those surface connectors added now. So again, I can move that location or keep it where it is and then let the SysQue process that so you automatically get your conduit or your MC cable drawn correctly to get your lengths out of your model correct. That covers the electrical side. So let's switch that now, take it out of your model and into model-based estimating.
And let's jump into it. So model-based estimating. So just a quick recap, you know, we've looked at the business challenges we faced. We looked at what's new in SysQue, and SysQue is really powering our model-based workflows here. So having that powerful Revit model where we have data flowing out of it to the right stakeholders is highly important. Our model-based estimating workflow that we're going to look at here was released in October of 2021. It's a very critical part of our connected construction workflow. So model-based estimating is a solid and seamless integration between your BIM model and your estimating software. And model-based estimating is sharing domain knowledge and expertise between your estimators, modelers, detailers, and project managers. So the key, you know, the crux of model-based estimating is giving you better insight and visibility into your projects at the various stages, and especially getting the right information to the right people at the right time and in the right format. So how does model-based estimating work? Well, we've been talking about Trimble SysQue here, which is powering a model-based estimating workflow. And we'll run you through it real quick. We'll select some model objects. We will then send those to model-based estimating, which is then received by our estimation MEP product. And then we're able to view that estimate and act on it. And then eventually we're going to take that, use that same estimate, and we can send it to procurement, or we can send it straight to procurement from SysQue, which we'll look at in a sec here. So what are some uses for model-based estimating? Well, it's really great for quantity comparisons. So if you want to do a complete forensic estimate of your coordinated model, you know, you want to compare what your original bid was to now what has been modeled, approved, and coordinated. Are there any differences between those two? Bet you there's going to be. So going off that modeled, approved, and coordinated model is going to give you much more accurate quantities, and that's what we're looking for. So this can help us determine our final quantities and materials. And you know, the big thing is what was it like without model-based estimating? And what we're looking at there is models were what was it like before? You would have to restrip your model and redo your estimates once you won the job. It makes it a lot easier now having that connected model that you could select elements and send right to SysQue or right to your estimating. And let's do that. So I'm going to switch over to my Revit that I have up. And what we're looking at here is a coordinated model. This is actually one of our Trimble building here in Westminster. It's our 4th floor coordinated view. And we're seeing a bunch of different elements there that are coordinated from M, E, and P. And we're going to focus on electrical for this example, and then we'll focus on mechanical for our supplier exchange example. But I have my electrical view here, and I'm just going to take a look at it. What I want to do is we're ready to buy, we're ready to estimate our 4th floor electrical equipment here and conduits. It's all been coordinated. We're ready to go. So I want to get a quick price on that so I can do that forensic estimate that I was talking about of what does it look like modeled and coordinated compared to my original estimate. So I could select the model objects here. I'll click on my estimation MEP and supplier exchange button, which is my model-based estimating and model-based procurement workflows. And I'm able to create a schedule here. And let me go ahead and kick in this schedule, 4th floor east conduit equipment. And then this is drawing E1. So I will go ahead and do that. And then we'll switch over to that schedule. And what you're seeing here is the schedule that we had just created, and we're seeing the name of the project that we created, or the estimate name, which is also going to be our bill of material name and supplier exchange. We have our drawing that we gave it, and these are the systems that's coming through from our systems in the model. And then did that element have a match to its building data item in our database? And the ones that are checked did. So what this is going to do for us, I can now switch over to Estimation MEP and open up this estimate. And here are the line items that we had just created from SysQue. And the awesome thing about this is there was I didn't have to do anything but click a button to get it here to Estimation MEP, open that up. There's no risk of incorrect data entry, leaving things off. It's all coming through just the way it did from the model. So we can see our line items here. We can see those systems coming through. Some were undefined, but we see feeders, and we got some power systems and such in here. So we can go through our takeoff screen here, make sure everything's looking good. We can move on to summary. And this is where we can see price and labor that we have in here, or sometimes things don't match. We may need to manually enter price and labor, but then we can, once we get past our summary screen, we could go into our closeout and set labor, rental equipment, general expenses and stuff, and we gets us to our final pricing screen here. So that is what we wanted to show you for model-based estimating. And tell you what, before I sign off here, let me go ahead and switch back to my plumbing plan, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take some our storm drains here on the roof on the east side of the building, and I'm going to take those and we're going to send those over to supplier exchange, because now we've estimated it and we're happy with our numbers, we're ready to go and buy the stuff. And again, click on the same button we did before for our connected construction workflows here. I'm going to give this a name, and this is my P4 drawing. I'll hit on apply, and then with that, I will turn the presentation over to Melissa.
Great, thanks, Doug. Very cool stuff. Okay, so now that we've covered SysQue and model-based estimating, it's time to talk about model-based procurement using Supplier Exchange, which is a digital pricing and procurement service powered by local distributor connections and shared item-level project data. So what is model-based procurement? Model-based procurement aligns specific components from your model to your local distribution network, so you can order directly from your preferred suppliers from a real-world accurate model. Our goal is to digitize the procurement workflow to streamline handoffs. One way of doing this is through using that common data environment, which we looked at earlier at the heart of the Trimble ecosystem. That common data environment becomes so important when we're looking across this ecosystem, because if we're all speaking the same content language, we're eliminating dual entry, costly data mistakes, and manual workflows. So by using Supplier Exchange, which is a cloud-based product accessible across your company, we're giving you a single source of truth. By digitizing that workflow, we're minimizing waste and we're controlling spend by eliminating those error-prone manual workflows, which all lead to improved supply chain predictability, right, in what is a very volatile pricing market. By leveraging the relationships with distributors that you can create using Supplier Exchange, we're giving you real-time, project-based, by-time pricing at your fingertips. So how does it all work? Let's look at a more detailed view of this workflow. We put together this graphic to visually walk you through the end-to-end, data-enabled, digital pricing and procurement Supplier Exchange workflow. First, looking at our red arrow workflow at the top, it's important to point out that Supplier Exchange originated as a pricing service for estimation and remains today a critical piece of supporting accurate estimates at bid time. But then moving from left to right, we really want to highlight that with supplier exchange for procurement, the contractor is not limited to handoff at estimating. A BOM can originate at the detailing phase, which Doug was just showing us. It can also come from the shop or from the field. All of this will be tied together at the project level. So regardless of origin, once a bill of materials is created and handed off to procurement, supplier exchange supports the management of the BOM and reconnects with those same distributors again to get real-time project-based quotes to make informed buying decisions. It then continues utilizing those same distributor connections to facilitate the creation and submission of digital purchase orders directly into the distributor's ERP system. Those same orders, once confirmed, flow back into the contractor's ERP system, closing the loop on the workflow. So what are some of the uses for model-based procurement? First off, reliable purchasing. The combination of real-time supplier pricing and automated workflows takes the uncertainty out of offline, delayed, disconnected procurement processes. This leads to sourcing predictability. Those local distributor connections provide real-time pricing and can also support contract pricing to take the guesswork out of quoting your items. Pricing comparisons, when you have all of that supplier pricing side by side, you have the ability to get the best pricing for your required parts needed for a job and to make informed, up-to-date buying decisions. Those digitized workflows, which we've been speaking to, automating the creation of a bill of materials, digitizing purchase orders, and integrating directly into both the contractor and supplier ERP systems to create a fully digital end-to-end workflow. At the heart of those digital workflows is automated information, that common data environment that we've been talking about, where we're all using the same standardized content. Providing that automation reduces or eliminates altogether error-prone manual processes. And as for more uses, we want your input. How can you see model-based procurement fitting into your current process? How can we help you streamline your buying processes today? We would love to hear from you and get your suggestions and feedback. So enough high level, let's dive into a demo and show these digital integrations we've been talking about and how we can use our model for procurement. In this demo, we'll show you how to set up our distributor connections, how we can manage our bill of materials that Doug just sent over from SysQue, how we can pull in distributor pricing to quote and compare, how we can create purchase orders, submit them digitally to our supplier, and finally, how we can sync those orders into our ERP system. So let's switch over to our Trade Service Live platform. Here we're looking at supplier exchange. So first we're going to want to set up My Distributors. Here we can see a list of all of the distributors we currently have a connection with. To add a new connection, we simply add in our postal code, our search radius, and that will pull up a list of all of the participating suppliers in our area. We can click to request a connection, which will send that distributor a request for approval. Once we have all of our distributor connections set up, we'll want to create a project. Here within our project, we can assign the distributors specific to that project at the project level. We can also enter in our ERP job code and our ERP vendor code, which will help in the ERP sync process later. We can also add team members and add any other high-level information, including addresses and our team members' names. Now that we have our project set up, we want to go into the bill of materials that Doug just sent over from SysQue. So I'm going to click into this bill of materials that he just created. It's going to prompt me to select which project I want to assign it to. Once we're in our bill of materials, we can see all of that standardized data that we've been speaking to. We can scroll over and see the 3 distributors that we assigned at the project level. Here. Once we find the distributors that we've assigned at the project level and we hit get pricing, that's going to call out to the distributor's ERP system, and it's going to pull back real-time pricing for all of the items. It's going to flag the lowest price and also pull the pricing into the lowest price supplier name column, so we can start sorting and making informed buying decisions. We can also sort our bill of materials by our work breakdown structure. Once we're ready to buy our items, we simply select the items and go to our purchase order screen where we can enter in our distributor, any of our ERP information, our distributor email, and our need by date. And we can adjust any quantities that we need to before placing the order. Once the order has been placed, we can go into our quotes and orders module and see the status of all of our quotes and orders across all of our projects. Once an order has been approved, all we have to do to sync this to our ERP system is click on ERP sync, and then we can go and look up that order in our Spectrum account and see all of the items that we just created a purchase order for at the item level. So that is just a very quick high-level overview of model-based procurement. Now I will kick it over to Phil for model-based fabrication.
So what is model-based fabrication? In short, Connect to Fab is model-based fabrication. It's a straightforward application within Trimble Connect, which digitizes and transforms the MEP prefabrication and fabrication workflows by creating a seamless connection between your design and detail departments and your fabrication systems. What this really enables our customers to do is gain visibility and insight into their project and models in ways that they've never had in the past. This also improves collaboration between our key stakeholders, mainly the VDC office, the field, and the fabrication department, so that everybody's operating on the same page out of the same models with the same views. This also helps enable prefabrication decision-making both in the field and the shop, helping take that out of the hands of the VDC department, who might not have all the information necessary to make those prefab decisions. In the end, we're putting the right information in the right people's hands at the right time in a web-based format that's easy to digest and available on any device you choose to use. So the way we accomplish this is by building on top of Trimble Connect's platform. The Trimble Connect platform provides key functionality such as to-dos, views, marking up models, data storage and sharing, as well as connections to our HoloLens and our augmented reality solutions. Connect to Fab sits on top of Trimble Connect and provides MEP contractor specific workflows. These workflows enable our customers to do things like create and modify spools, fabricate from the model, design and implement schedules on a web-based system and customize those to every project that you have. So it provides the additional capabilities necessary for the MEP contractor to make prefabrication decisions and also for the fabricators to actually fabricate these spools. In the VDC and field department, Connect to Fab brings project visibility out of the traditional AutoCAD environments and exposes that to all of the stakeholders. Whether you're in the field, in the shop, or performing coordinations, you can quickly and easily access and use the model from anywhere in the world. If you have no CAD experience, that's not a problem. Our easy-to-use modeling tool allows you to manipulate and peruse the model as if you're using Google Maps or some similar tool. Our automatic dimensioning saves hours of work. It's accurate and provides the fabricators with all of the information they need. This means that the field knows what to expect, and it's going to come to their specifications, and it's going to be checked for quality and arrive in the correct dimensions. In the fabrication world, Connect to Fab means I now have access to the whole model and not just the spool and the spool sheet that was printed. So I can see my spool, I can see all of the information about the spool, but I can also see how that spool connects to the other systems in the model, as well as how the spool fits into the model as a whole. This also results in less waste, less errors, because I'm fabricating from the model that was published, and I know I'm fabricating to the correct dimensions. I don't need to be a CAD user to use this product. I simply load up the web-based model viewer and start using it. This means I've got streamlined workflows. I'm no longer sending emails with PDF attachments. I'm no longer having to print out all of my spool sheets and email and manage those, sending those around. I'm no longer having to send those out to the field so that they can draw on them with markers, take pictures of them, send them back. All of that's eliminated, and we've streamlined that in a nice, seamless digital workflow that enables everyone to simply do their jobs with the click of buttons in a web-based environment. So with that said, I'm going to jump to a demo. And in this demo, I have the third floor of our Westminster office building here. And what you'll notice inside of Connect to Fab is, I've already loaded this model, which has been designed using our Trimble SysQue software. Inside of SysQue, they did create some spools because they had some knowledge to create those basic spools. So as I peruse through, I can see my piping spools, I can see my ductwork spools, as well as my electrical spools that were created inside of Trimble SysQue. I can also create and modify the spools inside of Connect to Fab if I'd like, simply by creating clicking the Define button, which will then hide everything that's been spooled, and using an area selection tool to quickly and easily highlight an area and select the objects within that area. That gives me a quick and easy way to create spools on the fly, again, from anywhere in the world using the web-based functionality. Once I've created spools, I can quickly and easily look at them and dimension them, or as a VDC or field employee, I might just go ahead and mark them ready for fabrication. Once I've marked that ready for fabrication, my fabrication department now can come in and filter their view to view only what's marked ready for fabrication. At that point in time, the fabrication department will typically open the spool. So when that happens, the spool is isolated and our automatic dimension tool comes into play to mark every dimension in which the fabricator will use in order to fabricate and assemble this spool. When the fabricator needs to know which lengths of cut pipe to go collect, they would simply click on our pipe schedule, which would bring up all of the pipe that they need. As I expand that out, it is grouped by the spool as well as the size. So now I can see I have 12 2-inch pieces of pipe. And if I expand that further, I can see exactly all of the cut lengths that I need to collect. If this information needs to be input into a pipe cutting software, or downloaded as a CSV, I also have that capability in Trimble Connect to export this as a CSV so that I can load that right into my pipe cutting software. As I'm pushing my cart around the shop, I'll also want to pick up the pipe accessories as well as the fittings. And Connect to Fab provides quick and easy customizable schedules which allow you to simply walk around, collect all of the fittings, accessories, and pipes that you need, as well as any hangers or any other components, and then provides you the information to go actually assemble this spool. Once you've done assembling it, you can click on our QA/QC dimensions, which gives you a quick measurement to where you'd actually put your measuring tape on. So the dimensions dimension according to center of pipe to ends most time, whereas that's a very difficult place to put a measuring tape in the center of a pipe. So our QA/QC allows you to do quick and dirty, let's say, measurements to make sure that you've built this correctly when you're done. Once the users finish that, the shop now can mark that as sent using a status tool built into Connect here, and now the field will know that that spool is on its way. So with that said, that's concludes our Connect to Fab demo. And I'd like to pass this over to Lindsay.
Thanks so much, Phil, and thanks to the rest of you guys for those presentations. There is no doubt that these digital workflows are impactful. There is a QR code that you see on your screen. If you use the camera on your phone, you can go ahead and connect to a short 3-question survey. It just offers us some feedback and lets us know if you'd be interested in being contacted by Trimble to learn more about these workflows, to get any support you need, or of course, to learn about the products themselves.
All right. Well, thank you for that, Lindsay, and thank you to all the presenters. I know you put a lot of time and effort into uh, discussing your sort of buckets of expertise there. So thank you, Doug. Thank you, Jason, Melissa, Judy, and concluding with Philip. And excellent, everybody is coming on now as well. So we are ready to take questions. And the first one, I think I'll pose this one to Doug, and then Doug, if I've chosen incorrectly, you'll route it to the correct person. But the first question has to do with model-based estimating. With model-based estimating, is it built to work off of a project that the company models? So as I understand this, if we're building a project that someone else has engineered, what is the value and how can it be used effectively?
Sure, you could use model-based estimating for a number of applications. You can use it for a design build, design assist project where you are getting the model for the estimating phase, and then you can do construction estimates for each phase as the drawings are released. You can also, once you win the bid, once you get that model from the architect or from the engineer, you could do another takeoff construction estimate, to compare to your original bid. Or if you're doing design build, you have full control over it, so you can use it on that too. So basically, you can use model-based estimating across the spectrum of something that's a plan and spec job all the way to a design and build job.
Excellent. I like that. And I think there was another question. So I'll stay with you, Doug, because it is continuing along the lines of model-based estimating. Uh, does model-based estimating support duct?
It does not at this time, but that's definitely in our roadmap to support duct.
Something to look forward to then, something that's hopefully coming down the pipe. The next question I have here, let's see, it's targeted. Melissa, you're in the crosshairs. This one is for you. With regard to supplier exchange, what if an item for my model is not available in supplier exchange?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there aren't really any items that aren't available in supplier exchange. We do try to match those up to our content database to provide standardized data, but we can support any items in supplier exchange that your supplier has pricing for. So we're not just connecting to our content database, we're trying to take all of your content and connect it to your suppliers. So as long as there's an identifier or a part that we can connect with your supplier, then we can provide that distributor pricing.
Okay, hopefully that answers the question to our attendees' satisfaction. And if not, again, you can always follow up with the Trimble teammates that you see here, and they'd be able to help you out more. Now, moving on, I have a question here that relates to Connect to Fab, and I believe, Phil, it was you that spoke to that. Someone asks here, can I use Connect to Fab with pipe cutting software?
So the answer is absolutely yes. We make it very simple for users to view the pipes that they need to send to their cutters and down to their software using our pipe schedule. And then you can export that out to a CSV, which gives you the pipe lengths as well as all of the piece numbers to go along with that, which you can then import into your pipe cutting software.
Very good. That should be, or sounds like a definite positive. Now, also sticking with you, Philip, I've got another question here regarding Connect to Fab. This one is pretty specific. Does Connect to Fab provide the information I need to bend conduit with my Greenlee bender?
So the answer is yes. Assuming you're not doing our field fab conduit, we're still working on those solutions, but we do provide you all of the marks needed in our schedules in order to put those marks in the proper place on your conduit and make the bends you need to make.
Very good. I think we can mark that one answered. One of the things, this is a question that came to my mind. when it comes to technology providers, Doug, at the beginning, you were talking about future proofing and making sure that you invest now to ensure that you're moving from that 5% margin to ideally 25% margin. And I get this question and have this question pondered by our readers and audience. But when it comes to a technology partner, uh, Doug, what would you say? What are the hallmarks of a trusted technology partner? Someone that you can feel good about partnering with and using some of these solutions.
Sure. Yeah. Great question. When we were talking about, pain points in the business, we were talking about solutions that the average contractor is using about 10 solutions from estimating to detailing to procurement. And, I think for us, it's really about connected digital solutions. And I think you all saw it in the webinar here. It's not just about point solutions. It's not about features. It's about workflows. So here at Trimble MEP, you saw the data flow from the estimate from our model into estimating, from the model into procurement. So again, that single source of truth is key for us. And one of the main things for us here at Trimble MEP, we have just an incredible depth of subject matter experts that are focused just on MEP. We actually have the largest MEP staff of any organization in North America dedicated to providing these connected solutions like we've been talking about. So that's really key. And at Trimble MEP, I think we saw here, we have that entire spectrum covered. And what we didn't touch on is we also have, robotic total stations for doing point layout. We have scanning solutions. We have augmented and virtual reality solutions. So there's a lot of other stuff, connected solutions here that we didn't even have the time to touch. We could go on for quite a long while here. So Trimble is your trusted technology partner for these workflows.
Very good. Thank you, Doug. And I don't know if this is a question or more just commentary from my perspective, but as you were all going through your presentations, and I'm also thinking about all the new additions on the electrical side, it tells me that you guys are staying in touch with your stakeholders, either asking them or when they contact you to ask about different updates and upgrades. It sounds like you're listening and you're trying to incorporate these things. Again, I don't know if this is a question or more just commentary.
Yeah, you bet. We're definitely, we have just a big discovery program that we have going on with our clients to make sure we're keeping the pulse on the industry, and we're listening to those, but we're also trying to think ahead. It always reminds me of that quote from Henry Ford: if his clients asked him what they needed, they would have said faster horses. So we're trying to think about not just what our clients are asking us for, but also what we can bring to the market that takes these workflows that we're looking at here into the next decade.
Very good, very good. Well, I appreciate all of you coming on, taking the time, lending your expertise, and talking about some of the cool solutions that are available for our audience to really up their game. And again, going back to that earlier slide you had, Doug, about moving from 5% to 25%. I mean, who wouldn't want to do that? So thanks all of you for taking the time, and thanks to our attendees for joining us on a Friday. I'm sure some of you already have one foot into the weekend, so I do appreciate you taking the time. And again, the folks you see on screen here, more than happy to take your questions. Again, perhaps something will come to mind as you rewatch this session, and just get in touch with them, and they will get back to you and answer your question to the best of their ability. So thank you all. I'm going to name you all by name here. I've got a cheat sheet so I don't mess up. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Doug, Melissa, Jason, Judy, and Philip. And again, thanks to all of you for attending. Have an excellent weekend.